Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for coming. As you ask your questions today, please make sure that you say your affiliation before you do. Make sure your cell phones are on silent. Without further ado, Sabres head coach Ralph Krueger.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you. Thanks. So for me, it's wonderful to be sitting in front of you. I heard some of your voices on the calls, and here we are now, face to face. We begin a journey together. I had a wonderful morning walking through the building, walking through the spaces that we're going to be working in the next months and years, and I can tell you that I am full of energy and ready to begin what should be a journey of growth for everybody, not only for myself as a leader, but for the people and the staff surrounding me, and of course, the most important thing in the end, the players, that we find out what they're made of as individuals, as we build what we find out what we're made of as a team, and I'm excited to do that. And here I'm willing to take questions from you. I think that's more important than holding a monologue. What's on the top of your minds and what you'd be interested in hearing.
John?
Good morning, Ralph. John Morrow with the Associated Press.
Good morning.
When did you get into town, and as you were touring the building and seeing, you know, whether pictures of Gilbert Perreault or Dominic Hasek, or did you get a fuller, not to say that you didn't know what the background of the franchise is, but did you get a fuller appreciation of what the history of this franchise is?
Well, I think to grow up in Winnipeg, you know all about the history of the Buffalo Sabres. I mean, it's an organization that, you know, coming in the top 14 teams has left an amazing footprint as far as having personalities come through here. I also have many close friends that have been a part of this organization, whether it's just recently working with Miroslav Satin, Uwe Krupp, who is a good friend of mine, speaking about his 7 years growing up here in Buffalo as a kid and saying that it was the best place that he could be. Whether it's all the way back to Danny Gare, Tom Rennie, a very close friend of mine, is married to Danny's sister. So there's just been contact to multiple alumni through my life, and I've always felt the passion for the game here in Buffalo and excited to tap into that.
And just when did you get into town?
So I got into town yesterday, and there'll be some bouncing around as we go to Vancouver, back for development and so on through the summer. But yeah, really today's the first official day in the office.
Hi, Ralph. Lance Lysowski from the Buffalo News. Just wondering what your early discussions with players have been like, specifically Jeff Skinner.
Well, I had the opportunity to communicate with Jeff. He was training out of state, so you know it was a long phone call. And for me, more than anything, the conversation was about how I, as a coach, would like to utilize his skill set and his talent. I work on the basis that Jeff Skinner is a Buffalo Sabre, and as a result, that's how our conversation went. And everything else, you know, Jason has complete control of that process, and you know, it'll happen for what is best for the Sabres in the end. But I enjoyed my conversation with Jeff. I could feel his unbelievable passion for the game, and I see a skill set there that is unique and can still be built upon. So overall, a really good conversation.
Adam?
Adam Benini, WGRZ Buffalo. Ralph.
Hi, Adam.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So much, when we talked to Jason, when he announced your hire, a lot was made about your international experience and how you dealt with pressure situations with your teams and how that might translate to the National Hockey League on an 82-game basis. Could you elaborate on how you think that might work moving forward?
Well, I think you know the numbers. I worked at 17 World Championships, Olympics, World Cup, 17 different tournaments where they were capsules, little capsules of time compared to a National Hockey League season. But the build-up to tournaments like that, and then the 3 weeks within them, those are such intense spaces. It's playoff hockey. It's always seventh game, best of seven. That's what your life is about in those tournaments, especially with a country. When I was with Switzerland, where it was about survival and pushing forward, and so just playing meaningful games was really what my life was about, and dealing with that pressure together with the players and finding ways to perform under that pressure. And I think that's what the National Hockey League season is all about, is being able to deal with that for 82 games in a row and to continually push yourself into a mindset that is comfortable there. You know, and I think that's I've spent my leadership life really trying to figure that out. There's no perfect path, but I feel very comfortable to go right at that feeling off the bat.
Okay, Ted?
Hey, Ralph. Ted Goldberg from
Hi,
Spectrum
Ted.
News here in Buffalo. Hey. During the conference call, you said that you were going to speak with Jack Eichel and Sam over at Worlds. I
Yes.
guess since then, how did those discussions go, and what kind of stood out to you from talking to those guys, getting to know them?
Yeah. Well, in a very modern way, it began with a whole string of text messages. So I think that was interesting how strong those conversations were before we actually met, and I could feel the passion within both of them. And then because they were on separate teams, I kept them apart and met with Jack one evening and Sam the other. And I have to say that both of the meetings ended up running much longer than expected. It was very natural. The conversations were strong. They have a very experienced mindset for their young age because of the years they now have under their belt. There was a clear understanding of what needs to be done here, I thought, in the conversations. We didn't just speak about the weather. We spent a lot of time speaking about what needs to happen off ice, on ice, and through, and many good things have been done here over the last few years. I really respect how hard everybody's been working at getting the players to where they are now, and I'm happy to be stepping into a team that has a foundation and has a basis that I can build on, and I could feel that in the conversation with both, and I really look forward to going to work. I think all of us came out of the conversations wanting to start playing tomorrow.
Hey, Ralph. Matt Bove with WKBW. A little bit of a unique situation here as you're hired over in Europe, but from then until this morning, what has been your biggest priority as the new head coach of the Buffalo Sabres?
Well, more than anything, it's conversations together with Jason to take our time to build the best possible supporting staff around me, to have a really strong team in place there. I'm all about quality and not quantity, so let's get it right and take our time doing it properly. Also, getting up to speed on the communication slowly with more and more players. I will go through the whole roster in the next few weeks. I'll probably have almost half of the players by the end of this week, and it's important that I, at the same time, parallel to that, I'm getting laptops loaded with NHL games to look a little bit deeper. I've been communicating with a lot of NHL coaches over these last 5 years. Although I haven't been a head coach myself, it's given me the opportunity to have a lot of conversations about processes that are going on, the speed of the National Hockey League, how it's increased, and the flow of the game, how it's opened up a lot more. And I think that's going to be important while we're building. I need to be clear on the way we want to approach the game and what's best for the final roster that we have, and how I can put those pieces into place. So multiple things going on. Of course, there's logistics of, I've been able to close off my past life, which needed to be done, of course, logically, and do it properly. And this from here on in today, I'm 100% Buffalo Sabres head coach, and I look forward to putting all the pieces together.
Joe?
Hi, Ralph. Joe Yerdon with The Athletic.
Hi, Joe.
We've had a lot of players that we've talked to that you coached in either with Team Europe or with the Edmonton Oilers say you're a different kind of coach. What do you think makes you a different kind of coach compared to what everybody else does when they coach?
I think every coach, every leader on the planet is unique. And it's important to be authentic, to be yourself. I think, I'm not going to compare myself to anybody, but you're always just going to get the real deal. There's not going to be any games or anything. We're going to speak about the truth, and I think that's what I like to do with the players and the team. Have a very open communication in both directions. I think you've probably heard me say this already, but communication is also about listening to your players, to your environment, to your supporting staff, and to processing all of that, not just speaking. And I think that whether that's unique or different, I know that's probably one of my biggest strengths, is to create an honest locker room and an honest dressing room, an honest atmosphere, and to work within those boundaries. You know, I like to, I like to keep that space. I'm conscious of energy and the energy that's needed through 82 games, and how to best put that energy into play, which also means they need to find spaces to gather energy and to help them understand that and to do that. I'm big on off-ice fitness. We've got excellent people here that are already in the background passionately supporting the process, where we need to be the fittest possible team we can be, because the game we'll be playing is up-tempo and high-tempo, whether with or without the puck. I'd like to have an active team on the ice, but we need to be fit to be able to do that consistently, game in and game out. So, lots of different thoughts of who I am, but I'm not going to be the one to compare myself to anybody else. I don't think that's important.
Paul Hamilton, WGR. How you doing? The game and the players have evolved so much over the years, even recently. You know, players are different now than they were. How have you evolved as a coach or as a hockey man, so to speak? Mm-hmm. Even when it comes to like analytics, I mean, that's into the game now, or the eye test compared to maybe analytics. How have you evolved?
Well, I challenge myself to try to get better every day as a leader, and you have to have an open mind to do that. So as all of this information is flowing to us as coaches, I now, in my experience in England, it was definitely the investment in sports science and analytics was large, and the way it was processed was interesting for me to observe. And I'm really curious on how exactly we can bring it into the front without disrupting the free flow and the talent of our players. That's one of the things as a coach, is to find that balance of a strong, compact game away from the puck, where you can feel that unity, but still allowing the skill, the amazing skill that we have in our roster to be able to be creative and to be able to be free. So when we take analytics, when we take videos, when we take all that information, I think the important thing will be to process it in a way that it then really, we don't do it just for doing sake, but we do it to really make a difference in the individual players. And we'll see how open certain players are to it, but I'm extremely open to gathering the information, and to even GPSing players sometimes in an ice session to check maximum speeds. You can possibly watch for fatigue before it occurs and avoid injuries and so on and so forth. There's so many examples where it might never get to the player in the end, but we might be able to track in a way that we can keep our man games lost down, as an example. So if we can use analytics to do that, let's find a way. But let's make sure that in the end we don't forget that a sport like ice hockey, whether 50 years ago when the Sabres were founded or today, when the puck is dropped, the same basic elements will still make a difference on which team wins and which team loses. So I'm never going to become over-modern and computerized in a way that we block the way the team plays and flows. And I think you can understand what I'm trying to get at. It's something I'm extremely interested in, but we have to be the best possible leadership team in using it properly.
Yep.
Hi, Ralph. Bill Hoppy, Times Herald. Have you started working at filling your coaching staff, and do you have a deadline that you want to have the staff filled by?
So as I mentioned, we would rather get it right than rush it, and we are speaking to the coaches that were here and other candidates, and if we could by the end of this month announce the staff to you, I think it would be ideal. But there's so many strong candidates out there. It's getting the mix right and making sure that we have a staff that's really culturally a fit. The players will feel that and will build and grow confidence off of that if our staff is extremely strong and our coaching staff is tight. And so that's really important. But at the same time, we need to have the skill sets on a different level to be able to help the players grow and develop because of our average age too. So, but I'd say the end of June.
John Scott, Spectrum News, congratulations. You mentioned earlier you're operating as if Jeff Skinner will be a part of this team. What allows you to feel comfortable to operate that way?
His tone and his voice when it came to the past and the future. So he was comfortable on that line. I initiated the call in that way, and it never went another direction. And Jeff had the opportunity to change direction if he wanted to. So it was really just the flow of the conversation that made me feel comfortable. I mean, I felt he really loved to be here, and that he was happy to be here.
Ralph over here. And just to follow up, just so you said he never changed direction on that conversation. This is John Warrell with the AP again.
Yeah,
while acting on the belief that Jeff is going to be here beyond July 1st, how might you need to adapt if he's not, if that possibility isn't, and how might you have to fill, a big void that could be in the lineup?
So I don't spend 1 minute on a player who's injured, for instance. So if a player is out of our lineup, we will move on with the same courage with the group we have, and we won't spend time there. It's the reality of sports. So whether a player changes teams or is traded because it's the best for the Sabres organization, I as a coach will always then look at what the new mix is and work with that. So I'm not, this is all about us maximizing our potential within the framework that we have. And sometimes, the movement of players is necessary in different ways. And again, I compare it to an injury where you still have to, the Boston Bruins have to deal with their present situation and not spend time on the guys that aren't in their lineup for Game 5. They want to win Game 5. They have to do it with the group that's there.
Okay, a few more. Adam?
Ralph, Adam Benini, WGRZ. Once again, you talked about, you've looked at the franchise, that there's a foundation that's been built here. At the same time, since the conference call with you, you've had time to assess more in the entirety of what's transpired here. Where has this franchise, in your opinion, fallen short? What are your plans to correct that gap? And how quickly can you restore true competitiveness to the product on the ice?
So I've mentioned that. I think I mentioned it on the conference call too. I'm not the kind of person that spends a lot of time on the opinions of the past. So whether it was spending my first meeting with Jack Eichel or looking at where the Sabres are today, it's much more important what is here today. And I need to find out that. And everything else is not the space I need to get into. I need to get into a space where I see what we have, what our potential is, what our present toolbox is filled with, and I need to put those pieces into play. So I think everybody here knows one thing, and that's that we have an extremely passionate environment. People are treated right in this organization. Don't take that for granted. That's a really, really special thing to have a foundation of that nature. And now we need to get the grit and the bite into the group on the ice to stoke the fire that's here. And why not in the 50th year of the organization get that going? But I truly mean it that for me now to analyze 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, 10 year, 15 past it would be a waste of time in my opinion. It's more, what do we need to do? And I'll focus on that.
Okay, Nick?
Rob, Nick Filipowski from News 4 here in Buffalo. Congratulations. Circling back to your conversation with Jack, over the weekend there was a video where he said your first conversation went really well, and he kind of expressed that you guys had talked about a true fresh start with this franchise. Knowing he's still a young leader on this team, what was your message to him that really kind of maybe instilled more confidence in him that this thing can turn around?
Yeah. I think he was speaking to me more than I was speaking to him in that meeting. I don't think I gave him the final solution. What he could feel is what the process will look like. And as I've already mentioned to you, that there will be a transparency in the process and that everybody will be involved. And that includes the players, what they think and how they feel. Now, my job as a head coach is to make sure that all of what maybe the players would like is actually enforced, because the players will know what it takes, and then it's my job to make sure it happens, right? And he understood that. But my message more than anything is that you know, his skill set and his ability is tops in the league, and now the second season as a captain will be not easier, but it'll be more comfortable for him. It'll be more natural. The first go around for any captain, especially at that age, will have its challenges because suddenly as a leader you have to take on the responsibility over and above your own self, and I think that Jack is more comfortable with that. We spoke a lot about the leadership and less about hockey actually in that meeting. So that was my main message, was how to develop his leadership skills, which I find are natural, are there, and the game, I believe, on the ice will follow.
Okay, last one, Paul.
Coach, as far as Rasmus Dahlin goes, have you had a chance to talk with him yet? And
yes.
We obviously all know what a unique talent he is, and there has to be some excitement to know that he's going to be part of your blue line. Yeah,
I mean, to have a world-class defenseman of that caliber in your lineup is always exciting as a coach, and it's also for Rasmus coming into his second season. There'll be a lot more comfort, I think, with the process. Everything seemed to go maybe a little easy at the start of last year, and then the challenges of the second half of the season allowed him to grow. And as we all know, adversity is a good thing if you use it properly. That you know, winners are always born in difficult times, depending on how you react. And I think that when I feel his reaction to the second half, he wants to go right back at it. In the conversation with me, he wished the season was going to start tomorrow, and that's a really good sign. He loves being in Buffalo and believes in the future of the club. So I understand the Swedish players. I understand the European players very well, as well as North Americans. So I'll be tapping into that as best as I can.
Okay, thanks everyone for coming. We'll do a quick picture up here. So I'd like to ask
Thank you.
Kim, Terry,